Yeah, this is awesome. I forgot all about the time and then we got carried away already talking. Good evening. It's so nice to be here with the two of you again because this is our second time this evening that we were in this room ready to go and, you know, say hi to everyone else and show up in their living rooms or kitchens or wherever they're watching from. Scano Jody Nika. So thank you for joining us here. Speak Up and Empower has been an amazing supporter of the work that we're doing in our communities and being able to keep us connected, sharing stories and just love. I guess that's really pretty much what this is all about. So thank you so much for everyone that's joining us. We have some amazing guests here on screen, but also in person. You want to say hi, May? You want to say hi and introduce yourself? No. Okay, well, that's my daughter. But anyway,
I'm Sherry Savo. I'm from Treaty 6 territory, and it's lovely to have everyone here joining us. This is so exciting to have our first session for our speaker series, Tea with Totah, and it's just lovely. It's lovely to have you both amazing people here.
It's Dota, actually. Dota. Yeah, Neil has something in there. I'm sure that will come out this evening. We were on here a few minutes earlier, just kind of getting comfortable, and we ran out of time in our broadcast room because these two are amazing, and we don't really want to take up any more time. What the messages that they're going to share and the time that they're going to share with us. So I'd like to just we're just gonna let them take over, and we're gonna sit back and watch from the back room and please, yes, grandmother, grandfather, take it away and have some fun.
Okay, we'll talk to you later then, eh? I'm going to the back room too.
Don't you dare.
So welcome. It's just like when you go to visit your grandma and your grandpa, there's always laughter. There's always that goodness. And that's what we want to bring to you tonight and welcome you into our homes and have you think of a time when you visit your grandma. And we got talking about our people, our grandparents, our grandmas. And when we used to go to visit them, that's all you heard was laughter. And there were stories to help us get through. And it was always interesting to hear those stories because I know pretty well that I know for sure there was no TV when I was growing up, and it was always the older people. And that's where we learned a lot of our lessons of life. And we're very grateful that we had that opportunity to sit with our grandmas and our grandpas. And we always referred, even those ones that were the age of our grandparents, we always referred them as our grandmothers and our grandfathers because that was the way we were taught. Anyone that was the age of our grandpas, we would always refer them to as our Dota. And even those that were of our parents' age, we would always refer them as our aunties and uncles. And so we had always a big family around us. And so this really supported us when we were going through our life's journey. We've had challenges just like you. We've gone through our ups and downs, our loss, our grief. We've gone through things like what we're going through today. And we're here to remind you that here we are. And our saying is, remember when. So we're going to share remember when. Because this is a favorite way how you start a get together. Remember when? And it was a time of restoring everyone's spirit, making them laugh, making them cry. But it was always good because in that crying was the laughter. Us Indigenous people, when we laugh, we have that real good belly laugh. And so there was always tears. That's why I said those little tears were, when you laugh so hard, those tears came and you were just crying. And I know my mom would always say, stop, you're making me laugh too much. And she would say, get over, because she was almost wanted to lay on the floor to be laughing because she would laugh so hard. So, and that's how I always like to say, remember when mom Remember our mom. Remember our dad. Remember our grandparents. Remember when grandpa used to do this? Or remember when grandma used to do that? And so I'm just following their steps. Remember when? So I'm going to turn it over to my co-pilot here.
I'll have to say ditto. Your turn. Usually, when I remember some of those days as well growing up, and we really never had a TV till probably,
Yeah.
I'd probably say in the 60s, I think. Early 60s is when we had our first TV, and we used to always have company. Every night the house would be filled with people because there's probably only about 2 or 3 TVs on the island back then. And finally, you get tired after because you got no place to sit because the crowd is there. But when we were younger, we were always told that we have to share what we have, and that's what it was. Finally, the neighbors started buying TVs, and all of a sudden, the crowd started to disappear. And the next thing you know, it's just only the family there watching TV, black and white. And we'd have to go outside and turn the antenna just to get the right channel. No, that was the funny part about that. Yeah, it was always funny thing about that thing. And then, but then my dad would get wise, and he'd buy the antenna wire. He'd strip it and bear it up, and then we'd put it up on the ceiling to find which way, so it was easier that way. So that was our way. Usually when I start talking about different things, I'd like to actually open up with a song if I can, just to get the mood. And, I was quite looking forward to being part of this. And so I want to honor a lot of the ladies that, the ladies especially, because, we find it hard to, growing up, I back in those days, the remember when days, I used to remember a lot of stuff, what used to happen. And women were like one of the teachings I have is that women are the caregivers, and they're the ones that carry life. And they are the foundation of a good home is the woman. And we always have to remind ourselves of that. So if I can, with your permission, my friend, I'd like to sing this woman's song if I could. Is that okay? I'm going to sing it Asia minor or B flat. Which one?
Whatever your vocal cords are ready for.
Oh! How's that? This is a song that came quite a while ago, actually. Now, and it's in a memory of one of the ladies that we had in our hand drum group who passed away from cancer. I think she was kind of so this song talks about not about her, but it talks about all women all across Turtle Island, across the other side. I thought I'd just do that the one time. And actually, the song represents all women, not just Anishinaabe. And like I said, back in the day, I used to remember a lot of the work the women used to do to keep the house going. And you did not want to walk on their floor when they could just wash the floor. Those are the remember wins, boy. Oh boy, you'd get a tongue lashing. You'd play outside till those floors were dry. And growing up back in the day on the island here, like I said, TV wasn't really what we grew up with. It's not until later. Oh, we used to play a game it's called kokosh ball, meaning pig ball. It's called. Oh, we used to have fun playing that game. Every night we'd be playing that. And it's kind of like a team game, but it was so much fun. And those days are gone because a lot of the stuff that started happening is that the technology came into our being, and a lot of times, and I get people mad at me sometimes when they try and hook up with me on modern technological devices, and I have to call them back. I said, "How do I do that?" But back in the day, for some reason or other, we knew exactly how to communicate. There was no phones. There was complete darkness on the island. Remember those days, Renee?
Yes.
It was really complete darkness. There were no lights. And the good thing about that too is that when we were young, our eyesights were good. Oh, you could see in the dark.
Yes.
You could be running away from somebody you teased, and you could hear them running through the bush, and you could hear them going, ooh, ow, ooh, ow. And we'd be laughing, eh? I'm going to get you, boys. Oh, man. Those were the days. We used to have fun with those days. Oh, man. Sometimes I wish our kids would go back to what we did. Without the lights, without the TVs, without the cell phones, without the iPads and stuff like that. And they're there. It's just that nobody wants to ignite them again. And the memories are there, though. And I laugh at some of the memories I think about sometimes. Oh, my gosh. The stuff that we went through, the stuff that happened to us, then you think about it now. How did I get to this age? Right? And the beauty of that was that how it used to be. Oh man, my mom, when everybody's mom used to do the same thing. They could make a big meal out of nothing.
Yeah.
Right? A big meal out of nothing. I remember when I was growing up, my mom and dad had to work, and our biggest, we used to run in the bush and get some bologna. Oh. Roll of bologna, eh? And they'd cut it up and they'd fix it so that it wouldn't die, it wouldn't go bad. And we had bologna for lunch, bologna for supper. It was very rare that we had the other kind of meats. My mom would buy a roast for Sundays. Oh, man. The old cook stove, the old wood stove. Remember the old wood stoves, eh?
Oh, yes.
Oh, God.
The best,
then, eh?
The best heat.
Yeah. That was the best, yeah. Again, like I said, it was, those were the days, and we used to be able to see in the dark. We used to play tag in the dark, but only to a certain point. When we were young, we were always told to be in before the night touches the ground.
Yeah.
Baby be nagake, they'd say. Baby be nagake, which means come on in now. And we never questioned that. We always went in when we were told. It's not until later on we found out why. Because it was then those bad spirits would be out there. They'd be looking for things, looking for somebody to hurt them maybe along the way. And I remember one time that we were on our way home, trying to get home as quickly as possible because the day dark was getting there. Of course, the old guys would like to play jokes on us kids.
Yes.
We'd be going up this path. All of a sudden, somebody's going, oh, jeez. Oh, man, it's funny I lived this long. Every time I got scared by that. And then, we'd run real fast home, and then my mom and dad would get, man, what's going on here? Somebody yelled at us outside. and then they'd say, "Well, we told you to come in before dark," you know. Them they, you know, I don't know what it was like on your reserve, my friend,
Uh,
and
we had Onatsa. We were told if we were out late, he would come and find us, and we'd have to be home before he comes out. There was a certain time that he was out, and if you were out after that, oh, he would find you. And that was one of the things we never ever wanted to see him. We never ever wanted, so we would make sure we were home. And these stories are so important for us, remember when, because they helped us through our hard times. I
yeah,
remember I remember we would be sitting, when we have lost a loved one, we'd be sitting there thinking about all the memories of all of what happened in their lives. And next thing you know, we're sitting there and we're laughing. And that's what was very beautiful that was said one time. My grandfather had, my grandma had left, and my grandpa was very sad. And my grandpa ended up finding someone to support him the rest of his life. She was very good. She was non-native, and she came into our lives, and she really enjoyed our our laughter and our stories. Remember when it really helped her, and so when it was her time to leave, she had spent time with her minister, and so when it came her time that she had gone on, he spoke of her stories. Remember when. And it was so powerful because when we were sitting there, we all started laughing. We're supposed to be sad, but we were laughing because we were we were remembering all those good times. And she said, "Don't look at my family as being cruel. No, this is how they take care of their spirit, because that's how we are to. That's what they taught me, is how to laugh in those sad times, how to bring our spirits up and make us feel life again." And so my mother was good at that. Oh, she was sitting there and she was sad, but I don't know what came out of her mouth, but she had the whole room laughing because she said, "Remember when?" And as soon as she said that, everybody just started having their own memories of all those good times. And the next thing you know, the whole room was laughing. The whole room was laughing. And that's one of the things that I think that we need those stories again. Remember when? And when we have family picnics, our family our nieces and the younger ones would say, "Come on, tell us these stories of long ago." And they would hold like this, their little fiddle. Remember when? Because they always hear all these sad stories, and they would say, "Can you bring out those stories?" And he would go like this, and they would be just laughing. And so we would get in there and tell our stories when we were young. I said there was a neighbor that called and told us we didn't have everything. We were just as rich as the next person, I think. But we were told one time by our neighbor that we wore cracker box shoes to school. And so my brother told Ma to save him some cracker box because he was going to walk by her place with those cracker boxes. So if we were poor or whatever, we made good of it. We made laughter of it. Whatever we were going through, it was so important to raise the spirit up and to make, if someone was feeling down, it was that laughter that was very good for us. And we would have our grandparents talk until late at night, and it seemed most of the time we were told to go to bed after a certain hour because he would tell stories and then they would go later on. But we would be falling asleep and we'd go to bed and they'd be still talking and they'd be laughing. And that's what I remember most of all. Sitting on the step and hearing, because everybody would sit around and we would be laughing. And even though they had hard times, there was sickness in our community. We had TB, and there was all these what you call epidemics. But you know what? We took that time and made laughter because that was the way of building up our immune system. That's why we're resilient today, is because of our stories. And so when you hear someone say, remember when, you know you're going to have a good time. So we're going to continue with remember when.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that happen too. Like this, kind of reminds me of some of the stories we used to have regarding when people pass away. That people would always come to the houses. They would sing all night.
Yeah.
They would laugh all night. There was no sadness. And the beauty of all that was that, oh, they were so happy. You know, they had that. Some of them still remember the old teachings on that. It's not a sad time when you lose somebody. It's a very happy time because they have finished their walk. That's what they're saying. They finished their walk. And when you get them ready and everything else, they bring them to the house where he or she lived at that time. And everything went on. There are people outside. There are people inside. They'd bring some guitars, or they even bring what, I forget what it was now. But anyway, they would just start singing. They'd sing probably for half an hour. They'd stop and have something to eat, and you hear people laughing outside. You hear people laughing inside. And then as kids, we were, even though the body was brought into the home, we were sent to my aunt's house after a certain time. But we wanted to stay and listen to the songs. We wanted to listen to the laughter. But they had a story behind that too. There was a story behind that. So we headed over to our aunt's. That's where we slept. The next day we'd go home, have our breakfast. No, we'd have our breakfast at my aunt's, and then we'd go home. And then, there were still some people there, and they'd go home, and then my mom, the parents would wake up, and we'd have our stay home and do all that. And the next thing you know, they'd be back the next night. They'd be back the next night, same thing all over again. Same thing all over again. Sing, laugh, eat, sing, laugh, eat. Telling dirty stories even. Oh. And we were kids. That's why I think that's probably why they sent us away. But it was funny. Because back then they used to speak the language.
Yeah.
And when you spoke the language, for some reason the stories were funnier than you would, funnier in the language than it is in the English language. Because you like my friend Renee here is saying, is that they'd bend over some laughing, they'd fall back, their tears would come to their eyes, But when that part was over, everything became quiet. And then you start remembering, like my friend says, remember when they were here. Remember when they left. Remember what happened. Remember when they started to laugh. And remember when they cried. And it's important for me anyway. For me, I enjoy having fun, as you probably already see me fooling around a little bit there. And that's the way it should be. That's the way you got to be. You got to laugh. It builds up, like my friend said, it builds up the immune system. And then there's a time to cry. There's a time to have fun. There's a time to rest and a time to sleep. But all those put together becomes like this, and it becomes that centerpiece of who you are. Because the remember whens define who we are. The remember whens define who we are as a people, as a nation, as brothers and sisters upon Turtle Island, because I think we're all related. My friend Renee here is my 501st cousin, 40 times removed.
Oh, yeah. I removed myself.
see, that's the part about that. That's the part about that, because I love the people of the Longhouse. I love my people of the Wigwam. I love the people of the teepees, the igloos. And whenever I meet somebody, I want to make sure that remember the things that I was told growing up. They would say, which means do not hate anybody.
Right.
Because it's not going to do you any good. Only hate progresses into life over your lifetime. But if you stop hating, then bring that laughter out, wow. We can defeat anything by laughing. I always have fun with my friend here. And every time we see each other, we either have to laugh or hug each other or start crying, one or the other. But we much rather laugh. And it's very simple. It's very simple. Just got to remember to do it once in a while.
Yes.
You just got to remember to do it once in a while. Never mind what your neighbor said. It's your life. You have to be able to understand the next step forward. You want to go backward, that's fine. But me, I want to go forward. I tell everybody when I reach 80, that's when I'm going to retire. What will they let me retire at 80? Probably not. The phone will be ringing. And a new modern technological device will be in place, and I'll probably try and figure, how do you work this? My smoke signals don't work anymore because the winds don't blow the right way. Somebody else will get the message. But it's those remember wins. I remember a lot of things growing up. I remember what happened to me. I remember what happened to my friends. I remember who we lost and how we how we got through that was through laughter and having fun. And that's the key. That's the key. So laughter defines who we are. It really does. I like when what's that comedian's name from Saskatchewan?
Don Bernstick?
That's the guy. When he tells a story about how women laugh. Never see women laugh. Oh man, I couldn't stop laughing. I know, yeah. They go back like this. Or they hit each other.
I said, every mother's my sisters.
But my brothers, my brothers, we enjoyed laughing. And that two of my brothers passed away. And when you got us four together, and if we were sitting in a crowd, everybody would look towards us for something because we'd start the ball rolling. Especially my other brother, his name was James. Oh man, he'd come up with something. And of course, my younger brother, Philip, he'd start, and all of a sudden we'd be right in there, making people laugh. And then we'd have to go home, and then everything would quieten down. Not because we left, because there was nobody else to laugh with or to laugh at. It's good to laugh at yourself, though. Yeah. I know it is. Here's the thing. Ever slip and fall, and then you look around to see if anybody saw you? And you know what? That happened to me here once at the health center. I was on my way to the administration building. For some reason, I figured I'd get some papers or something. So I step off the step and I slip and I fall on the road. I jump up and I look around like this. Oh, nobody saw me. That's good. I walk down to the band office and walk into the door through the doors, and somebody says, "Hey, Neil, did you hurt yourself when you fell?" I said, "How the heck did you know?" Because there's always eyes on you somewhere, right? And we laughed, and they made sure I was okay. But again, like I said, those funny things that happen that make you laugh at yourself. I remember once in the bad days, in the dark days of my life, I, re- I remember, but actually, I'm an alcoholic. Let me put it that way. I'm an alcoholic. But I've been sober now for quite a while. I'm working in my 38th year of sobriety, 38 years. And anyway, we were at the tavern. We started drinking here on the island. Got to the tavern. There's a pool tournament. I don't remember a thing about that pool tournament. And somebody hands me this envelope. I says, "What's this for?" He says, "You guys won that tournament last night." I said, "What?" In my condition, I don't even remember. What is? That's kind of embarrassing, but after a while, we started laughing about it. He said, "You were really great. Holy man, you should get drunk more often." They said, "Play a tournament." But it's one of those things though. Sometimes I laugh at what other things that happened to me during my drinking days. But there are some sad times there too, because when my mom always got mad at me for being drinking a lot, and there were times when I felt bad, but but we got over it and we looked after her, and but some craziest things. We used to jump icebergs when we were kids. Oh man. And we're in Georgian Bay. We used to jump icebergs, play tag on the icebergs. Oh, you slip and you fell. You had to go home right away. You got heck for jumping a lot, running around on the icebergs from the water itself and the ice. But when you got home, you got it worse because they knew exactly where you were playing. But as soon as you change your clothes, there you've gone back down there again. Yeah, so those funny things that happen. Running into a tree. Did that ever happen to you? Run into a tree? Oh, jeez. I think the dent on my face is still on one of them somewhere.
We told our mom we were going to go skating next door to our neighbors, and they couldn't come out and play because they weren't done their chores, and we wanted to go skating, and it wasn't cleared off. And I don't know which one of us said, "Oh, I know where we can go." We went down to the river, and we were told the last word when we left the house, and I don't want to hear of you going to the river and skating. So we went down to the river. We went down to the river. It was clear, like a mirror. Oh, we didn't have to shovel. We thought, oh God, we're going to have a good time. So we were up and down the river. We put on our skates and we were going up and down the river. And we were always told to stay away from where the other side, because there's the current. And we forgot all about it because it was a nice moonlight night and we were having a good time. We were laughing and everything. And next thing, we were having a race. And me and my brother and my sister. And when I was ahead, then I got hit one of those weeds that was in the ice and I went flying. But my brother went on ahead. And just as he went on ahead, the ice broke. And it was a big split in the river there. And I knew I had to get him before we had to get him before he come to that end of that break. It's amazing what listening to those stories, you hear those stories from the old people and they tell you this is what happened to them. And you remember those stories, and it just like at that instant, I knew what to do. I knew what to do because I lived along the river, and I knew how to, that times would come that the river would challenge us. And so I was grateful for those stories that they said when this had happened to them, and this is what they did. And I was grateful for listening to that because what I did was I got up and I shot across, laid flat across, and I just reached my hand out and I told my sister, hold on to my skate, and I got a hold of him. And and as we were pulling out, it was starting to split, and I kept pulling, and we were just soaked. But you know what? We were laughing. It was trauma, but we were laughing because laughing relaxed our muscles. Laughing made us get rid of that fear. Laughing brought resilient back into us, and we were, come on, we can do it, we can do it. And then we pulled out, and so we get down, we get back to the river, and it's a good thing we had built a fire. We had built a fire because here my brother was all soaked. He was soaked, and so I said, "Well, you can take my coat. You can take this." And I said, "Well, I'm pretty good. I'll be okay." And my sister, we start walking home. That's the time when you young boys used to comb your hair and it used to dip over like that. Remember those?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So the time we got home, my brother's hair was just froze. And I said, "You better not be the first one to go in. Mom's going to know." so, so I went in first, and right away I know where he was with. So she didn't holler. I mean, she just said, "I know where you went." She went scurrying around. She got this big old tub. Remember what the big tub you used to have?
Yeah, they galvanized.
Yeah. Ma got the water ready, and then she made up some concoction. She made us drink it. She says, "I'm going to make it strong because you did this." So we're trying to drink this stuff, and we're going. Ma says, "Drink it, drink it." And you know what? That was the most. It was traumatizing, but yet those stories helped us, and that's what's so beautiful about it was our stories helped us, and we looked at each other in the tub, and well, we had our feet in a tub, and we were Ma had towels around, and in the way my mom was going around. But it was later on that we were all sitting around there and we were laughing because then my mom, she got, "Oh, shut up." And she got laughing. And when my mom laughs, oh gosh, she's one of those ones that if she starts laughing, you got her laugh. And so here we are. She started showing us what we looked like when we took that medicine, and we were just laughing. And you know what? We never ever caught a cold, even though we were in the river. Even though we had to walk home in that cold, we were wearing wet clothes. And when we got home, it was because we were laughing. Yeah, we were afraid to go home, but it was just so natural that we looked at one another, especially my brother. His hair was frozen right over, and we were just laughing. So those stories really help us in our challenges, when things challenge us, and we need to tell our children these stories. We need to show them that yeah, you're going to have hard times. Yeah, you're going to go through some challenging times. But the most important thing is know that when you get through that, you're going to say, "Remember when we did that?" And you're going to say, "Wow, how did we get through that?" And I think this is why our stories are so important. Our stories will because that's how our grandparents, that's how they came through all these things, is because they heard those stories. They heard them stories that made them very resilient, so that they could do what they needed to do at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that kind of reminds me of the time when we used to play in the bush on the island. Because we had the whole island to play. That was our playground when we were kids, eh? And we didn't know at lunchtime because we were having so much fun. Actually, we were playing cowboys and Indians. Nobody wanted to be the Indian, that's for sure. As we see in all these movies, right? All our Indian guys were getting killed by the white guys. So, like I said, but we were always told that there's food out there in the bush.
Yeah.
There's food out there. And a lot of the older guys are like, oh, we were young. Some of us were pretty young, but we went with the older guys to go in. But what we did was that we just walked across to the other side of the island. And that probably about an hour and a half, almost 2 hour walk. But we did it. And all along the way, they'd stop and you'd see these little, what they were looking at. And they'd say, hey, Wanda, they would say, here, have some. So we'd look down and we'd start picking and start eating.
Mm-hmm.
And then your energy started to get better, eh? Because you're tired for a long walk. Then we'd get to the other side and we'd find some apple trees. We'd take some apples, put them in our pockets, and on our way to the other side of the island, we'd eat. Then we'd get there and we'd have a drink of water, but that's when the water was good.
Mm-hmm.
We'd drink the water from Georgian Bay, and then we'd of course we'd find those sandberries along the shoreline and eat those because they said they were good. And then we'd find actually we used to find wild onions as well.
Oh,
Those were good.
yes.
But the older guys would say, don't eat too much of them. He said, just have a couple, small pieces, and that's it. You'd be all right. And then we continue on our journey back home. And we used to have a lot of fun. We'd be talking about this, and the older guys would always make sure us younger guys were coming. And because that's how we were taught. Never leave the small ones behind.
Yeah.
You always either got to walk with them or let them walk ahead of you so that you know where they are. And there were stories around that too, because they say that there are things out there that might pull you in and not see you again. And they used to talk about, I don't know, you guys probably have down in your way too, on your community, what they call the little people.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have them here too. And they always used to say, when you see one, you gotta, these are the stories that we were told. That when you see them, you got to take some cloth, tobacco, and some food, and put it to where you saw these people. And then you go back. You don't go back to see if it's gone. You just leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one of the things why they always said that never leave the little ones behind, because you never know. So they always either walk in the middle or walk ahead of us. But little us guys were smaller, and we'd always play along the edge. And we'd get that sharp remark and say, "Oh, wait!" They'd say, "Okay, hurry up." So we knew already we were falling behind, so we had to catch up again. And those older ones were the ones that were taking care of us.
Yeah.
And it reminds me of those stories where way back in the day, how the old ones used to look after the young ones and how to raise them. And when it wasn't just somebody else's grandfather, it was your grandfather too.
Yes.
And that was that family relation. I forget what you call that extended family. Extended family. And the aunties and the uncles, one time we got into trouble. And I went home and told my mom. I thought, oh man, she's going to go yell at that guy. And I went home and I said to her, that man yelled at me, Mom. Then she said to me, go eat this. She says, good for you. What? Wow, he just yelled at me. Then I didn't really understand that. And then finally one day, as I started to get a little older, and I realized these people were looking out for you.
Mm-hmm.
These were your aunties, these were your uncles, these were your grandparents. Could be somebody else's parent, but they were your grandparent as well, because they reprimanded you for the things that you did wrong. But if you did something right, they'd be so happy. If they had a candy in their pocket or in their house, they'd give you one. That's how happy they were. Oh, I remember that stuff that we used to get sometimes. I used to go visit my grandfather in Rama. My mom was from Rama, and we used to go there. And for the weekend, when they see us coming, my grandfather over there he'd hire a taxi. Me and my sister, he'd say, come on, you come with me. And off to the store we would go. He would drive. The driver would take us there. Me and my sister would be sitting in the back seat. My grandpa in the front with the driver. We'd go to the store. He'd buy a lot of stuff. And he'd buy us these little bag of candies, and he'd buy us, those little boxes of popcorn, Lucky Elephant or something.
Blue Elephant.
Is it Lucky Elephant?
Lucky Elephant, yeah.
Lucky Elephant popcorn. Oh, that was sweet, that one, but it was good. He'd buy us that, eh? And because we hardly ever see him, but when we saw him, it was a whole different story.
Yeah.
And but he would always take us to the store. But he would always tell us something. See, because they had a well too, and it was flat on the ground, but they had boards on top. They would always tell us when we got there, "Don't play around here," and he would reprimand us if we did. My grandfather, my mom and dad would say nothing, and that's how that extended family worked. And I wish it would work now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be a different story. I think, but then we'd go play in the tall grass by his house, and he'd be watching out. They'd be sitting on the outside of his house there with these big chairs. There'd be 4 old guys sitting across there. We'd be playing around. Every once in a while, we hear our names being called. We'd come out, and then because we were playing with our cousins in that. And that's a good time. I remember that. And he'd always cook something. My mom would cook, and then we'd all eat. And then one day, my sister got hurt, and he picked her up and rocked her, and she fell asleep. Then of course, we'd all go to bed early, still daylight. But I'm happy that I remember some of those times. Those are the nice times. Those are the good times. And I try to do the best I can with what I can. But I tell my granddaughter, you remember the stories about. We also hear these stories way back in the day regarding the big sea serpent in Virgin Bay, or the lake that we have just behind my house here, not too far. And they used to talk about the sea serpent or the big snake that lived in there. And they always used to say, "Don't swim too long, or don't swim across that lake. Otherwise, that serpent will get you." And that scared us. So those are some of the scary things that kept you away from certain places and also brought you home early. And then there was one more story that I remember. One of the relatives, I think, still talked about it, and we actually overheard them talking about it. They talked about a mermaid. They apparently somebody had seen one over on the west side of the island, northwest side of the island, in between the rocks. He said something about in between the rocks. He said he thought it was somebody swimming there. So as he got closer, he noticed that when whatever that was saw him, it turned and went into the water, but they could see the tail of it going in. And they always said, never swim alone over there. Mm-hmm. In fact, don't even swim over there. But nowadays, people go there, but they don't swim. They swim further down towards the big beach. And so I think about that when I go there. Sometimes I'll go there and I'm just think about things. And of course, the remember when's come into play. You sit there, you think about your young childhood and remember playing around here when you were a kid. And some of the stuff I remember as well, too, is that, that we have a biological clock in us for some reason. I don't know. They say, you better be home for supper. There was really, I don't think we had clocks when we were growing up, I don't think. I can't remember. Right?
Yeah.
So when we used to go out and play, they say, you guys be home for supper. And for some reason or other, we always knew when we had to go home. And sure enough, 10 minutes before supper started, wash your hands. Okay. Wash our face, wash our hands, get our food, sit down and eat. But they would always tell us, too, to eat it all.
Yeah.
Put what you can in your plate first. If you want some more, then take a little bit more. Because food was hard to come by back then. But, that's the beauty of what we learned. And these are, again, like I could probably, after this is over, I'll probably go into my room there and I'll think about what we talked about. And those are the remember whens. Those are the remembrance. And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Very. I know we our a lot of our nieces and nephews would always ask us about the outhouse.
Oh yes, the outhouse, the old outhouse.
The outhouse. I said nobody wanted to go by themselves because we were always told you had to be accompanied by if you always had somebody with you. And at that time, we always because we had a big family, we had a 3-seater. So if one goes, we had to make sure we always take the little ones too. And we had a pony at one time, and this pony was really smart. And I don't know, this one was really smart. And he knew when we had to go to the bathroom, it was, just before you go to bed, you're going to the bathroom and he'd be he'd be out in the field, but he always knew, and he would come a little closer. So we would get in the first time he did that. We were in our outhouse, and we were sitting there, and and he kind of snuck over, and he backed his rear to the door, and we couldn't get out. We were trying real hard to get out of the toilet, out of the outhouse, and he wouldn't let us out. And we were hollering, "Help! Help!" And my dad come out there, and he was looking at us, and he was laughing, and he said, he was laughing. He had to even pull him out of there because he said, "That pony's getting back at you guys. What did you do to him?" And sure enough, it happened. He would do it a couple more times, but he wouldn't do it every night. He would do it every so often, because when you were on guard, you would have someone stand outside, and the others would go in, and we'd take turns standing guard there. Then after a while, we forget about it. So it happened to my mom one time, and she was hollering. We didn't go out there to rescue her. She was out there for a long time. Oh man! And she gave us heck. She said, "All right, you guys, any that time that it happens to you, I'm not going to go out there and help you." And so, those are the stories that that really made us strong in our spirit, and that's what our children need, is that resilience, because these stories play a very important role in our lives and how to overcome when we have those doors blocked on us in our lives. And some of that we always remind us when you hear that story, being the door shut on you, we always think somebody's against us. Oh, God, well, doing this to me. I can't have that. And that's what I think that pony was telling me. Whenever that door shuts on you, it's for a reason. And so that's how I was told. Don't get upset when you want this job and you're ready for this job. That's so in your heart. You want this job, and you said you didn't get it, and you're upset and you're mad. And the old people would say, "Well, you know what? That job wasn't meant for you. The Creator has another one down the road." And I'm very grateful to hearing that story, because this is how it happened to me. I thought I had a very secure job, and I was working at the Woodland Culture Center for many years. And one day we were called in. A few of us were called in, and right away you knew something was wrong. You knew something was wrong because you felt it, the energy. And we walked. Each one of us was called in, and it was a time when they were cutbacks. So when I went in there, I kind of felt what was going to happen. And when I walked in there, they had their head down. They were going into that speech, "Because of cut down, we're going to have to let you off." But before they finished that, I said, wait a minute. I was told when this door shuts, it'll be okay. And I want to say thank you for all that you've done for me. I want to say thank you because I thought this job was going to be my lifetime job being there because I loved it so much. But when they were going to say those words, I just said, wait a minute. I know this door is going to shut. It's okay. You see, the Creator has another job for me, and that's all right. And I want to say thank you. And they were all like, whoa, where'd this come from? And so, I went back up to my office, and this was about 3 o'clock when I was given notification that I had no longer had a job. And I started getting things ready because I said, oh, there's something coming. And sure enough, the phone rang, and it was a call for me, and I picked it up. And they said, what are you doing? And I said, oh, I'm just packing up. And they said, are you free? And I says, I am going to be. And she says, well, I want you to come and take my job, take my position. So you see, the Creator had another job for me. And so this is why I like to tell this story. When one door shuts, there's always, because the Creator will always say, and that's the way it is with when you're growing up, you're a teenager, and you want to, you just like this guy because he's so handsome, and you wish he would notice you. My grandma sat and talked with me because I said, oh, Grandma, there's this nice looking guy. Oh, all the girls like him. She says, well, I want you to know he's going to grow old, and he's going to have bigger belly later on. He's going to have grayer hair. She says, I want you to know that. But he may also be very, very, as they say, he's not good to his part for them. And she said, I want you to see how he treats his mom. And sure enough, the one that was that handsome young man, you know what? He had a very sad life. And if I had gone into that, I would have had a much more traumatizing life. And so those are things that we need to hear, that, all these relationships, when we go into a relationship, some are meant to be and some are not meant to be. But this is a time when we need to hear the stories because it happens to all our grandmas and our grandpas. And this is why I'm always thankful that I heard these stories, because I have passed this on to my grandchildren. And I says, you always look for a man or a person that is good in his heart. Look for one that is how he treats his mom, how he treats their sisters. And so this is what I had learned just from hearing all those stories. And there is much more stories. I think we could go all winter. Don't you think so? With all these stories that we have, and the stories that we have heard from our grandpas and our grandmas. We have so many stories, but they were the ones that helped us through our ups and downs later on in our lives. They told us there was going to be times when things would be rough, but you can get back up and brush yourself off. Even arguing with your parents. Oh, that can be hurtful for both sides. It was my auntie that told me that story. My auntie shared that my mom would always, yes, you and your mom are arguing. You know what? But you are arguing because you loved each other. And one of the most important things I always remembered, she says, your mom wants you to be a strong girl, but now when you're a strong girl, she finds it very hard to let you go. And so this is one of the things that I'd always remember my auntie telling me, my grandpa's sister. She says, you may be having a hard time with your mom right now, but I'm going to tell you one thing. She's going to be your best friend. She's going to be your best friend, and she's never ever going to let you down. She's going to go help you. She's going to be there thick and thin. And so I always remember when I was sitting there on a steps outside and I was feeling sad. I remember when my heart was broken because I had argued with my mom and I didn't feel right. And so my auntie came and sat beside me and she told me stories because I think she went through it. and maybe her mother had gone through it. So these stories are stories to support us in those times when we hurt our hearts by being in that place of arguing with our parents. But know them. And then she also told, my grandpa also said, you know, when you hear the word no, you can't, no, you can't go there. I want you to remember those words. Because you know, sometimes you're so mad at your parents because they don't let you do this, they don't let you do that. Well, my he also sat and talked with me. He says, you know, I want you to know that when your parents say no to you, that's their word of love. Because they know what's out there and they know the things that can harm. But you know what? Because they've been there, they have experienced that. And yes, they want to protect you. And so I always think of that. Think of those words when I hear no, no. Yeah, that's what we would say. Yeah. And when you heard that, you know that that meant love. I care for you. And so these stories are very, very powerful because that's what makes us who we are today. We're here. We're here through a lot of struggles. We're here. We've had pain just like you. We've had all these struggles, but it's our stories that kept us up and held us up. And this is why we're here tonight. We're sharing. And I'm knowing that this, because of this pandemic, we're not able to see, but Creator made another alternative way for us to visit you, or you visit us, and to hear these stories to help you in these times. So we can continue visiting. We can continue, and it's all up to you. If you want to hear more stories, as they say in the way, stay tuned because we have a lot more stories. So I'm turning it over to my best friend.
I got no more. No. I guess going on to go back to that outhouse stuff as you were talking about that. Oh man, I couldn't believe how we used to live. How we used to live was tough. And one of the stories is the Halloween story.
I know where you're going.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember who it was, but you know, the old folks, the old folks would get ready for us guys coming along to tip a toilet. That's what we did. Tip toilets for Halloween. Well, I can't remember who they were, but anyway, apparently one of the old folks got wise. He got wise. And what he did then was he moved the toilet forward because because we always pushed from behind, pushed it forward this way, pushed the toilet this way. And apparently these three guys or four guys went to this one house, and they didn't even know, nobody knew he moved it. So when the first guy went to step forward to start pushing, he fell in the hole. Oh my God! I said those guys had to pull him out, and then the guy, the owner of the toilet, was sitting on his step, watching all this. And one of the guys said, "You know what he said? What did he say?" He said, "Good for you. Come back again." And the young fella that had fallen in the hole had to take all his clothes off. Because he was up to his, I think they said just past his knees, and that's where he took off. He lost his shoes for sure. he goes home. He goes home, and then they asked him, "What the heck happened to you?" Is because the guy who fell in the hole told us the story after. And I got home. They said, "Where's the rest of your clothes?" "Oh, somebody played a trick on us." These guys already knew. The parents already knew what had happened, and Oh man, when we found out about it the next day, boy, did we ever laugh. We couldn't stop laughing. Oh my. The guy actually got mad at us and started to say things to us. The more he got mad, the harder we laughed. It was, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. Eh? Oh yeah. So yeah, that's a Halloween story with outhouses because we had to be very careful the following year because we wanted to make sure we didn't fall into one of those. But eventually, but eventually, but eventually that faded out.
Yeah.
The tipping of toilets. It's kind of like the way of the dodo bird. It just went away. Just like our game when I remember I called it pig ball, kokos ball at the beginning. That's gone. I remember when we used to have Christmases here. Oh man, what a beautiful time that was. What a beautiful time that was. And it used to happen on January the 6th, and we used to call that little Christmas. And the parents would, save some gifts from Christmas for this special day at the hall, whole community hall we had. Probably, I would say, probably maybe 3 or 4 weeks before the actual big feast that we had. They would kill a cow here, and everybody knew when that was. The boys would come by to my house and say, "Come on, Neil, let's go up. Go watch them, see what they're doing." Okay. And my dad, he knew already that where we were going. He gives me a pan, and he asked me to ask for liver once they did that because they had to take it out, right? They had to clean it right there. So we went up, and then we watched what was going on. But those old guys wouldn't let us stay on the ground. We had to go up high, because they had to catch that cow. And once they did that, they did what they had to do. They put it down, and then they raised it by using an old dozer, and then pulled it up, and they gutted it. And then then somebody would say, "Who wants liver?" Hey, me. I put up my hand. I had my pan there, my hand in the pan, and then my dad wants some liver. Oh, okay. They cut me a big, put it in the pan, and then the heart. The part they gave us, somebody asked, anybody want any heart? And I said, maybe my old man would want one, my mom. So I said, yeah, I'll take that. I'll take a piece. Okay, put it in the pan. Off I'd go home and take that to him. And Montague gave me to go, I'd say. They also gave us, I asked for this, I say to him. And he looked in there, and my mom would look in there and they see part of a heart. Ooh, oh, Messiah, he'd say, that's good, he said. Right away, they cleaned the liver, put it away, but keep the heart out. And that's what our supper was. Oh my God, couldn't believe the taste, eh? But anyway, going back to little Christmas, they would, that cow they had killed, they'd all cut up and everything else. They'd take all these roasts around the people's homes, and they asked if my mom would cook a roast, and they'd take another roast somewhere else, and then my mom would make scalloped potatoes and stuff like that for this big feast that was going on. So they said, "How, my Jacques?" They would send us ahead. Me and my sister and my brothers, my little brothers. Well, they were small then. We'd go to the hall, and we would be in there. Oh, it'd be packed. Yeah? Just a little wee hall. There wasn't that many people on the island back then when all this was going on, eh? And they would they'd have some games going on, and then all of a sudden you hear the bells. Eh? You know those bells on the horses? You could hear them, and then all of a sudden you heard, "Oh, oh, 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 oh!" Santa was there. Oh my God! Everybody stood looking around to see where's Santa. And then he'd come walking in with this big bag, go sit up on this big chair, and everything would already be under these big trees they put up in the corner of our old community hall. They put trees up in the corners, and underneath there was gifts. Eh? And then they'd come around. Some of the old folks would come around and say, "Okay, you want to be an elf? You be an elf. You you didn't argue with these guys, because when they asked you to be an elf, they wanted you to be an elf because you're out there helping. So that's what we would do. So they'd give us a couple of boxes, and then all they told us, just yell their names, and we'd go around yelling their names, their gift, and they hand it over to whoever it was, and then do that, and go back getting more. But the feast was something else. After that was all over, they'd take everything down, not the trees, but trees would still remain. They'd set up the upstairs, and then they had it downstairs. The upstairs would be full of people eating. Us guys that couldn't make it upstairs went downstairs, and they'd serve. Oh man, that was one of the most beautiful times I've ever had growing up. Was those 2 Christmas trees, and Santa coming up the hall steps, and being an elf helping out, and it no longer happens. That's how I remember when, because it'll always be here in my heart. Always be here in my mind. And I remember a lot of time people would be happy. People would be laughing. People would be sitting waiting for something. And if there wasn't any gift for certain people, they had extra gifts to give to those people. Nobody left that hall without nothing. They left with something. And that was the beauty of our people back then. That was how they worked things. When you had your big feast, people would come from island, and they'd come and sit down and eat. We'd be downstairs. Some of us that didn't make it upstairs, you'd be downstairs eating. Then they cooked. The cooks that were there, the women would then they would tell us to bring the food upstairs, and we'd put it on the tables. And then these women who did the cooking had a special place to sit. I believe they put them somewhere special, because these were the ones that cooked all the food, to help cook the food, and they had a whole row of them both sides, and they would eat. They would be fed. They would be looked after. And that's what I mean. Like, us men who this is one of the tasks that us men were to receive, that we received that from Creator before we left his side when we were spirit, is that when we got to the earth, that we would have a partner, a lifelong partner. And in the beginning of my life with my partner, I didn't know how to take care of anything. I'm just coming out of a big mess that I grew up with. I drank for 24 years of my life. And, when she helped me sober up, she stood by me. She stood behind me when I was going through that withdrawal. And I thank her so much for that. Then her sisters helped me. Then one by one, everybody started supporting me. If it wasn't for my wife, I would not be here. This song that I sang for you, this Anishinaabe Kwe song, or the Spirit Woman song, talks about a woman coming from the east, bringing life with her. And when she walks across this daytime sky every day of our lives, she brings that gift of hope. And all around her are these spirit animals that walk with her. And they walk, and at noontime, when you feel already overwhelmed by your job or something, all you have to do is sit back in your chair, close your eyes, and feel the woman walking past you, because you'll feel her energy. And that's what women were all about growing up. They had so much energy. They could look after a garden. They could change diapers. They could cook. They could wash clothes. They could do all this. It's kind of like one of the teachings I finally understood when I first stepped onto this road, that it takes 2 people to do the things that need to be done, man and woman. That's one of the teachings Creator gave us. That if you see a woman in trouble, a man is supposed to go and help. If a man is in trouble, that's when a woman steps forward. So we're kind of like this. That's the way it was supposed to be. In some places, in some cases, it's still happening. When my wife left back in 2016, I think that's one of the darker days of my life. I wasn't ready for it. But then you go back to the times of Remember When's, about the funerals they used to have, the wake services in the homes, and how people used to laugh and sing. That's what we did for my wife here. We brought her home. 2 nights we had her here. Is it 2 nights or 3 nights? And if it wasn't for the people that supported me all through this time, I don't think I wouldn't be doing this. And you know what? It was the women who came to me to help me through this. There was Lizak Wenzi. There was Mary and Sharon Saunders, who stood by me. Even though they didn't come, they knew that I was here. There was a whole bunch of people. And I'm so happy for them. And then I met Renee. I've known Renee for a while. She stood by me too. And the best thing about those things is that I will never forget them. And that's one of the things that we were taught growing up. Never forget who helped you out. Never forget whoever helped you out. So now I know my good friend here who sits, well, she's sitting over there in that screen, but see, I touched her. No. But the beauty of it though is that you always remember the stories from way back and how to take care of those things. At my age of 35 and holding, and I want to enjoy what I got. I want to enjoy the life I have left. If I reach 80, I'm going to be happy. If I reach 90, well, I don't know. I'll be happier. I don't know. It depends. It's not my call. That call belongs to our Creator. When I'm done, maybe I'm done most of my tasks. But I always remember the stories. I'll always remember the people that helped me through all this. I'll remember them all. I may not remember your names, some of you, but I'll remember the faces.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty of it. Somebody asked me, I met somebody once. I hadn't seen them for quite a while. And she comes running up to me. I think this was in Toronto. And she comes running up, Neil. I'm looking at her. Oh, hi, I said. I'm trying to figure out her name. Well, I'm happy to see her, right? And then I'm looking at her, but she knows darn well that I don't remember her name, right? She says, finally, she hits me on the arm. She says, you don't even know my name. Says, oh my gosh, I thought to myself, she knew. How does she know? Well, just like your mom, just like Renee's mom, who knew that they went to the river. It's the same thing. For some reason, they got that extra sense.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of that is that they know. They know. You can't put nothing past a woman. At least she knew that I didn't know her name, so.
Can you say that again?
Pardon?
I said, can you say that again?
Which one?
You can't put anything past a woman.
No, they always seem to know what you're doing. That's how good they are. And I believe that. Remember when I said the foundation of a good home is a woman. She's the foundation of that home. We build our homes on our mother. That's the other part of that foundation. But when you walk with a woman beside you, she's the one who knows more than some of the men. Except for me, of course. but again, like when I sing that song, Anishinaabe Kwe, I'm honoring all women. When I talk about that story, when I sing that song, I talk about that story first, and I give that teaching on how strong this woman is that comes from that eastern door, bringing life with her. And it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until later on when we first started walking this path how I realized how important the women are to us men. When we built that first sweat lodge, we had, I forget now, 4 guys from Perry Sound and about 4 women from the same area who came to help us build. And we were kind of watching as we were learning from them and how the two came together to build this sweat lodge. And wow, what an experience. I was scared in that sweat lodge my first time. Didn't know what to expect, didn't know anything about it. We heard the women talking, beautiful teachings. Then we heard the men talking, beautiful teachings. Then we went out and got what we needed and built it. But we were laughing all the way through too. And that was the beauty of building that lodge, the laughter that we had together. Then I began to sit back a bit to watch how some of the women were doing what it is that they were doing. And then when we got ready to bend the poles, our teacher said, okay, guys, let's bend those poles for the women. We'd bring the poles together like this and wrap them, and the women would tie them to keep them from bouncing out. And that happened till we finished the sweat lodge. But yet, yeah, the women seem to know you can't keep nothing from a woman. Just like when my wife was still with me, she'd always say, give me some money, hon, I want to go to the store. She always knew I had money. She'd raid my wallet. But you know what? If I was to do this life over again, I'd do my life differently with my wife. I'd be more, well, it's not that I wasn't sincere. I think I'd probably be more loving. Because you see, when I was growing up, I'm going to tell you the story. I don't want to be a sad story, but I wanted just to bring it forward to say that, you know, I never heard the word love growing up. Only when I was baby, maybe smaller, probably, but then when things started to change. And then everything started to change. As I grew older, things really changed. And I never heard my mom tell me she loved me after. It's like that, maybe she did in her own way, I don't know. But I drank. I started drinking when I was 10 years old. And I drank 24 years of my life. I didn't know what my teenage years were like. Never knew, because it all was kind of a dark. And then I met my girlfriend, who became my wife. Promised her I would quit drinking if she didn't leave me, because I needed somebody to walk with. And this is who Creator sent. 32 years we walked together. And that promise to quit drinking is still going strong. And I'm going to keep that promise till I see her again. Because again, these are the things that we're told when we're growing up. Life is forever. It's what they call a forever life. Like walking on a forever path, a path that never ends. It's like our teachings. The teachings are forever. Anyway, we'll go back to Peter O'Cheese and his story.
Yeah.
I remember him telling us about the good comebacks. And he talked about his long hair. He had long hair, long white hair. And, you know, we were listening to the guy, and he was cracking up some jokes, and we were having fun laughing. Finally, the event was over. Elders conference was over, and we headed home. Like, I'd already been sober for a while. My dad already quit drinking for a while. And we were living in Penetang. And my wife sent me to the mall for something. I can't remember what it was. Something. Anyway, I come through the doors and I saw these guys that I used to drink with when I was younger. We had a Hotel Brule here in Penetang and another one called the Commodore. Used to go drink there, and that's where we met those guys, these French guys. And a lot of them passed already. Most of them are all gone now. But anyway, we were so happy to see each other. We hadn't seen each other for quite a while. And out of the corner of this one side, I see this man coming. He stops in front of one of the guys and he points to me, directly at me. And he says to me, "You people, why do you grow your hair so long?" Ooh. Remember, I'm sober. I'm not drinking. And those guys are looking at me and wondering what I was going to do. So I took my hat, let it fall to the floor, and these guys just backed up. They thought there was going to be a fight. And I looked at him and I said, "You see, sir," rubbing my hands like this, we grow our hair for a reason. We grow our hair long for a reason. I said, it's because it makes us look young. When I do this with my hands, I said, I brush my hair back, pull that ponytail real tight. It takes all the wrinkles away, I said. And you should have heard those guys laugh. Holy jeez. You should have heard them laugh. That's what I call the Ojibwe facelift. But you know what's happened though? Over the years, I pulled my hair so many times to make myself look young. Notice my hair is receding. Now my wrinkles are showing up, see? But now that somebody said, why don't you grow my eyebrows and comb them back and pull that? So again, like I said, you come back with these stories and, it diffused everything because we were laughing, not at him, but we were laughing at the comment he made. And those guys, if they were still alive, we'd still be laughing. And so Peter O'Cheese was a good teacher. He gave us a good comeback, and I remembered that. That's just one of the things that he taught us. Good comeback. Talk about your hair if you have to. Talk about something, but don't get into a fight because it only makes them look good, he said. But we had fun with that one. But like I said, I've overpulled my hair. Now I got a receding hairline. I may have to buy a wig.
Made it like this.
Yeah. Man, those are the days, though. Oh man, the things that we used to do, though. And then I remember one of the uncles on the island. He asked me, "Do you know anything about the ice?" I said, "Nobody's ever taught me that." He says, "Come on, I'm going to show you." So we were walking along on the ice. This is new ice. And the wind had already pushed some of the ice onto the shore, but you could see it sitting there. And he pointed to me. He says, "What do you see?" I looked at it and looked at the ice on the ground, on the shoreline. And I said, "I just see the ice." He says, "Look at it. What color is it?" I said, "It's blue." He says, "That's good ice," he said. Oh, wow. I never knew that. It's not until later on that, again, somebody else said the same thing. When you see blue ice, that's strong ice. But if you see white ice, do not go there because it's what they call slush ice. It's too soft. So I learned that. And I learned a lot of things too. Like I watched my uncles and my uncles cutting wood. And those old hand saws they used to have? They call them sweet saws?
Yes.
Holy man, that's all.
Sorry,
Ooh. That's another thing too. I used to have a chest. Now it's down in my waist. That's the first thing you see when I come around a corner. Here comes Neil. See his stomach? No. Oh yeah. We used to cut wood by hand, and we used to haul it out by using an old sleigh that used to make little hand sleighs, probably about 4 or 5 feet long, and we used to pull the wood out with those all day, back and forth, back and forth, back. But then you're thinking about what's going on in your life, and then you pick up another load of wood and you haul it down, throw it in the basement, keep doing it every day, and then you finally realize what you're doing is you're helping your father, so he can go on to other things. You're helping your mom so she can stay warm. I remember some of those times when I was drinking. Used to stop drinking for a while to help them, even to cut my own wood. But again, like I said, it's some of those things that you do, and then you remember those times when I was sober. You remember the good times. But I did hurt my mom by drinking. I feel bad about it. I think about it sometimes. But her and I, we got to know each other before she passed, though. Oh my gosh, she'd always say, she'd call me here. She'd say, Neil, are you going to town? As soon as she said that, what do you want, Mom? I'll get it for you. You come by the house here. I got my list. I didn't even say, okay, I'm going to town. She just already knew I was going. I said, hon, gotta go get some stuff for Mom. Okay. So she'd write me out a list too. So I had 2 lists. But then she would bring her stuff home and she'd be happy and she'd give me $100. I said, what's this for? No, Mom, I said, don't give me that. I said, you've done enough for us already. And she did. When we got married, Peggy and I got married, she did a lot for us. She, I think another time too, I should tell you this one story. We had a minister here. Now he's passed now, a native minister, United Church. And he always watched out for me for some reason. He'd always get not angry with me because I was drinking. He says, one day, I hope you quit. And I want to see what you look like. And lo and behold, I did. December 31st, 1983, at 11:45, before the year was done, I had downed my last beer. Never drank again. When he found out that I'd quit drinking, boy, he was happy. In fact, he was part of our wedding ceremony. He helped out with the wedding. And he was smiling. You see the big smile on his face. Eh? I guess I made everybody happy. I know I made myself happy. That's who I am today. Maybe I'm still in my teenage years, but at this age, and having fun with it, because, I love fun. Oh. Then there's sometimes when I want to be quiet. I'm sitting there sometimes, and let's say I'm in a conference. I'm sitting there just listening, watching. And everybody asks, hey, Neil, is there anything wrong? What? Is there anything wrong? No, I'm just listening. There must be, they're always questioning, But I said, you don't want to get me going, I said. Why? He said. So the lady beside me said, don't get him going. He's quiet right now. Oh, well, not too long after she said that, I'm sitting there looking at her. She goes like this. Don't. I'm looking at him. And, okay, so I'm just continuing on. Finally, I was asked a question. I don't think they asked me the right question because I didn't give them the right answer. And then we started holy jumping. We had that place just a dancing from just laughter. Eh? myself and the two guys beside me on this side, and then the woman here beside me on the other side, on my left side. She's laughing away. I told you not to get him started, she said. She got it because I got everybody going, right? Because it's one of those lessons that we were learning. And well, you know how some people are. So they're not very, how do I say? You can hear them talking, but there's really no monotone, is it? Is that how you say that? Monotone? Monotone speakers? But no, there's no real, what you call to what they're saying? Of course, after we were done. Okay?
I would say passion.
Boy, that was a lot of fun, though. We had a lot of fun in those workshops. Holy mackerel. Then one day I came in, somebody introduced me, but I was late. And somebody, so I come in the main doors then. There he is. There's that guy. We've been waiting for him. And everybody turns around, looks at me. So I'm coming up the middle. And I'm just going like this to everybody, going like this, to everybody like that. And one of the ladies says, who the heck is that guy? Oh, don't get him going, they said. Don't get him going. But, but there are times when I can be very, very serious. Very serious. Tonight's not the night. Tonight's not the night. Oh, God. Oh, gee. Go ahead, Renee.
That is him ever since I met him. Oh, gosh. And it's amazing because I met his wife first when she was a teenager a long, long time ago. And then I met him again when I was working at Native Horizon. He was on the board. So we've known each other for a long time. And every time I see Neil, oh, my spine, I'm ready. I know I'm going to have a good immune system after I see him for a while. I'm just crying now because he's brought that tears. Remember, we bring tears and laughter together, and that is a part of healing. And I'm very grateful that you were gifted with that and to tell those stories. And I'm so happy you shared that story of why you're about your ponytail.
Oh, the Ojibwe facelift.
Yeah, we were talking about Peter O'Cheese earlier, and yeah, I remember him. I went to one of his, been with his sessions a couple of times, and also, a lot of our mentors a long time ago, a lot of our elders, they had humor, and Jake, my cousin Jake Thomas, he'd be doing a teaching, and then all of a sudden he would go into a joke, and we go, where'd that come from? But he said, I just wanted to see if you were awake.
I remember Jake.
Yeah. And even Ernie Benedict, he had his way too, and all these different ones that really. And one time, Reg Henry and I were on our way out to London, and we were going to we were doing a cultural day out there, and I was riding with him, and all of a sudden something came on the radio, and it just like brings up a memory, and you start laughing, and I'm going and I had to turn my head because I remembered a story, and he said, what's that? What's going on there? What? And then I said, I said, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. I said, Renee, he says, you think us elders don't hear these stories? He said, we heard them a long time ago. He says, if you tell me that story, I'll tell you one first. And I'm looking at him and going, he's going to tell me a story like that. I go, oh my God. So we were driving down the road, and he's starting to tell the story. And I go, oh my God, is he telling this story? And I got laughing. I couldn't believe it. This was my elder. He was speaking and sharing that story, and I would just laugh. And he's all right. It's your turn now, girl. I said, I don't know. You wrote the whole story. I said, I can't even remember it now because he got me laughing. I said, but if I do remember it, I'm going to tell you. I said, because I owe you that. And that. So he really broke the ice on sharing how to heal, we need humor. And to tell our stories, we need humor. And I was thinking about you with that sleigh. I said, you should have been thinking. I says, when I had to go get wood, I took the hood off my car, got my brothers to take the hood off my car and use it as a big sleigh. And I had all my brothers and sisters pull it. And so I got, instead of doing several runs, I had one good run. So I had all the wood. So that's us women thinking way ahead. I'm going to make it done in one trip. So laughing and yeah, there was times we never thought they were hard work. It was just like we had to do it, and when we did it, we thought of all the good things that would come out of it. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, gathering wood. And one day, someone asked me about my life, and I said, I used to live in the city, where it used to be all convenient. I said, I went and moved to the big city, and I says, you know what? My mom didn't like that too much, me being away and teaching my children how to really survive. And so she wanted me to move home. Yeah, she got her wish. I had to move in an old country, an old brick house. And there was no plumbing, there was no heating like your apartments were. And my kids were just going to school, kindergarten, grade 1. And we lived, there was no buses running that time. There was no buses. So my little ones had to walk to school. And so my mom, she says, I know it's hard. You don't want your child to go through this, but what you're giving them is the reality of life. You're sharing. You're going to make them a lot stronger, she said. Because, as mothers, we don't want our children to be so. And sometimes it's so, I don't know, misgiving, I guess you call it. Because a lot of mothers will say they'll do a lot more for their children. And they don't want to see their mother, they don't want to see their children, don't want their children to see them crying. But I see my mom cry. And it was good that I saw my mom cry because she reminded me how human we are. And as growing up, we need to see our mothers cry because to see the work that they put into our lives, and sometimes it gets overwhelming. And when you see that, I think that's what really helped me when I was to be a single parent, a mother. There were times when it would be rough. And I would let my kids see me cry. And I would say, I'm going to be all right, but I just have to let this go because I didn't want it staying inside. And I would get them and I would hug them and I would hold them they would come and lay beside me in the bed and I'd be crying. But as long as they were beside me, I was well. I said, you are my medicine and we're going to get through this. And this is what I need to remind I know you want to save your children from all this hardship. You don't want to let them see these hard times. You don't want to see them go through these things. But you know what? They need to see these things so that they can be strong. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to say, remember when, Ma? Remember when I did this? Remember when? And that's what that will bring that pride back into them, that they overcame that. They overcame when there was hardship. And that's what the most beautiful thing is. Through everything in our lives, there are going to be times we have to show our children it's reality. And we can't what they call it, make it everything be all right. We have to let them see that. We have to let them see the reality of life sometimes. And that's when our stories come in. And they'll always say, gee, I wish I was as smart as you. And I say, well, you know what? I was a young girl too. I was a young girl But it was because of those stories that helped me to be who I am today. And so stories, our children need to hear those hard times. Our children need to go and see these things because this is what's going to help them to get through anything. And what they're going to remember is Grandpa Neil. And they're going to remember Grandma Renee getting together and just laughing and sharing all these stories to say, you guys, you can do anything because you got the most important thing, and that is that laughter, that real deep laugh. And this is what makes us strong. This is what makes us get through anything. And look at us today. We have wrinkles, we have gray hair, but you know what? We're very happy with who we are today, how we came through all those things. Oh yeah, and your hair. We're happy. You know, we don't need makeup to know who we are. We don't need all those things to say who we are, all those fancy clothes. You know, you don't need any of those because this is what life is all about. It's about what's inside you. It's what's inside that's important. And that's where the laughter comes. Oh my goodness, we have so many here tonight. And it makes me feel so good that you came to hear an evening with us, to spend some time to hear the laughter and the joy and know that our people need heroes, not those ones in the TV Hollywood land, but you have heroes right in your backyard. You have your heroes, your grandma and your grandpas, and your moms and your dads. You don't need to look outside. You need to look right inside of your area. Look at them and ask them their stories. Ask for their stories. How did they get through this? And this will help you to become stronger. This will help you to know that if they can do it, I sure can do it. Because I always think of Sky Woman, you know, in our teaching, Sky Woman came here. She came she didn't have anything. She didn't have new clothes or whatever. She didn't have a home. She didn't have a roof. She left her family in the sky world to come here to bring a new life. She was with child. And it's because of her that single parenting, I remember that story. If she can do it, I can do it. I can do it. And that's what really helped me was knowing my stories, knowing my creation story, knowing this woman. She didn't have everything that we think we need today. Who was there to help her was all the animals. All the animals. They came and they give themselves of them. Just like we were talking about the meal that Neil was getting for his family, the heart. And that's what the animals give of themselves is that heart for us. And they always said for those hunters to eat that heart. I was waiting for Neil to say he ate that heart to see how strong he was. And that's how our men a long time ago would use. And we never use that word, yuck, you know. It's because that animal is very precious. We disrespect them when we say those words. And that's what our grandmas would say. That animal came to help you to be here. And that's why we have to remind our children of that story, how they they give of their lives to be here to help us, their stamina, their resilience. And that's why when we have those wild meat, no, Neil, don't go any place with that. That wild meat is those deer, the animals. So this is what we need.
I'm not going anywhere.
So this is what we need. And I always tell I'm very grateful that I'm well taken care of because I get wild meat every year. And I'm very blessed to have that. I have a great grandson that he also, I have my granddaughter's husband. They provide me with deer meat so that I can always be resilient, just like that animal. And so I'm very grateful for all these things. And I can see the animals, they taught us how to have fun. And I'm going to share this one story because I have to tell the story about the animals. because the animals taught us how to really have fun. We, as I said, we lived along the river. And we were always told when we went to our grandmother's place, we couldn't go to the river and swim because we didn't have swimming pools. We had the creeks. One creek had a lot of bloodsuckers. We would go to cool off, but we knew how to deal with that. And then we would go to another pond, and there was this big hill. So we knew there was always these muskrats around. So we'd always like to sneak up on the animals when we were out there. We were always, like Neil said, we were always outside all day. We had a lot of adventures. And so we went way back in the bush. And we were very quiet, and we snuck up and we saw a family of muskrats. And we saw how they were playing. And we saw how they went up on this little hill, and they would slide down this hill. And then all of them would be going on, and they would have all their bellies would be all gray because it was the creek. So we were saying, gee, that looks like fun. Let's do that. So we scared the muskrats away so we could go and play because they already had it all wet down. And we said, oh, they did it for us. And so we got up on that hill, and we went and we got stuck because we weren't wet. We were kind of stuck there. And so we had to keep going, pushing down. And we got down to the water. And after our bellies was wet and from the creek, we were able to do it a lot faster. And so after a while, our face, our eyebrows was all gray. Our face was all gray. We'd look at one another and we would be laughing. And so we said, oh, just like Neil said, we knew one time it was for supper. So we tried to clean off our best, tried to clean off all that grayness on us. And we tried our real best. We looked up and we see the sun sitting on the trees. When we know that, we now have to go home. That's our clock. We know we have to go home. So we went up to the hill. That's because way back up on the hill was our grandpa's place and grandma's place. And so here we are walking in there. Right away. What were you doing in the river? Oh, we weren't in the river. No, we weren't in the river. Honest, we weren't. And, oh, yes, you were. And we said, no, we weren't. And then, well, how come you look so gray? We said, well, if we were, that tells you we weren't in the river. We were in a creek. If we were in a river, we would be all clean. So my grandma, she just laughed. She says, okay, you guys win this time. She says, you're okay. So these are the things that we were never bored. We were never bored because the animals that we ate, they were always doing something. And so this is why when we were growing up, we never heard the word bored. I'm bored. There's nothing to do. Well, in our life, there was always, as my grandma would say, you're doing, because that's how you were born. You were always to do something to help yourself and to help others. You weren't to lay down. You weren't to lay down and have everybody serve you. You were to get up and be doing, because in that way, you're getting your body ready. Because grandma would say, you never see an animal laying around. He's always doing something. He's either having fun or he's doing something to help the world be a better place. So those are what we learned from those stories of long ago. And there are many, many stories that we could continue on. And this is what we used to do during the winter time. We always would have this gathering, and the people would go visiting. And that was my homework. After I had spent much time with the different elders, they said, now that you have learned what you need, now it's time to go visiting, because now it's your time to hear the stories and share the stories so that the spirit of the people can be renewed and restored. And so we hope at this time what we have shared with you has brought you has brought you a lot closer to peace and understanding of life, the true understanding of life. And so we give you this gift of laughter. We give you this gift of time so that whatever you're challenged with in the future, I always said, oh, I remember when Grandma Renee said that. Oh, I remember when Grandmother Neil said it. But in our language, we would say Duda. I remember when Duda said that, because Duda meant the grandparents, because this was the way to help us to get through life. This was important for us, and this is why we are very grateful that the Creator give us these young people to help us to make it possible that we would have because Neil and I, we're still challenged. This technology has challenged us, but we don't get mad and throw a fit. What we do is we just use that patient, and we're going to say we're going to get through it, because new things. But I always tell I said, remember, I'm the one that taught you how to tie your shoes, so don't look at me and roll your eyes. And that's so true, because one day you're going to do the same things. Your children are going to roll their eyes at you, because you see, this is a process of growing in life. Everyone has to share those stories of how to get through each day. So we are hoping what we have done tonight is give you the gift of spirit, the gift of laughter. And so I'm turning it back over. We're playing tag. Because we're older now, we don't run and touch them. We go like this. So it's your tag, you're it, Neil.
I'm going to teach you a song. I'm going to teach you a song before you go. I hope it makes you laugh. I think you've heard this before.
Aha.
Oh, the bungai, jiggy, jungai, way, hey, hi, ho, the bungai, jiggy, jungai, way, hey, hi, ho. And that's what makes me happy too, is knowing Renee for this long. Also, to share songs is another thing, and to teach them, because a lot of the things that are in those songs that I carry are part of creation. Every one of them is part of creation.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about songs, we talk about how they impact our lives. When you hear a song, you like it. Me, I'm a what do you call it, 30, 40, and 50s person, and some 60s as well. But when I started to drum and sing, it seemed like a whole different era or something came in that started me to think about why are these songs coming to me? And these songs that I do carry are songs that I share with everybody, because they were given to me to share, and they shared their songs. Creation shared their songs with me. So now I share with the people. And that's where our teachings come from, is out there in creation. If I have time, I'd like to sing this one song for you. And it's everybody knows this song. Oh, Canada. I'm kidding. Way And that's an honor song. And I want to honor every one of you that are there. I don't see you. I know you're there somewhere. But it's also to honor the people that have taken a giant step forward in their life. And sometimes, a lot of people say, I've taken 2 steps backwards. No, you haven't. It's just that the world moved back for you. And in this time in life that we understand the true meaning of honor. And that's to honor each one of us. Honor us, you, them, all of us. And in this world, we are not alone. Some people think we are, but we're not. All we have to do is maybe step outside, talk to a tree and pray. Mm-hmm. Or kneel by your bed and pray. Because prayer is the key to who we are as people. That will take us to the rest of our journey. So that song is to honor all of you. Because you're here. Because you all were given those gifts. It's just that you have to have them ignited sometimes. Like that little chip in the back of your head that says, oh yes, I remember when. Anyway, that's about all I have on that. And again, I want to say thank you. And in my language, we say, which means thank you so much for letting me help you. And by the way, I want to ask a question. Where are those Jamaican women?
Oh, you kill me.
Where are those Jamaican women?
I said that one time, somebody else that makes me laugh a lot, and I said, I kill you. And they were so serious. They're like, I don't want to kill you, Jody. I don't want to kill you, Jody. My cheeks hurt from laughing so hard. Maybe not hurt, but we drank a whole tea, this was so beautiful, so beautiful. And Sherry and I were laughing at the beginning because, we talked a little bit before and we missed our broadcast time. So we had to create a new room. And it's just, you guys are just funny, and you just make my heart sing. And it was just amazing. And I was sitting here trying to think of what to say, because I was I probably for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to think ahead of time, like, oh, what am I going to say? What are we going to say? Yeah. Because before this, we watched you guys show up saying, oh, so what are we going to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? I don't know. And then look at what happened.
You know, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And just having the tea reminds me too of sitting around and visiting my granny. And we would sit around, and of course, us kids wouldn't want to go outside, and we wanted to be around the adults. And there'd be another tea bag going in there, and another tea bag, and another tea bag. And I think by the time we finally left, there might have been 15 tea bags in that. And knowing about the outhouse, it was the Sears catalog for us, or the Eaton's catalog.
You were rich.
I think maybe might have stole it from a neighbor. But oh my gosh, thank you guys so much. This has brought such joy to my life, and just smiling for the whole 2 hours has brought such medicine, and boosted our immune system too, my immune system as well. And the comments that we've been having on here has just been phenomenal. And thank everybody, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for tuning in with us, and we're looking so forward to the rest of our series. And the Bingo Grannies will be on next Sunday.
Oh, by the way, I'm doing autographs in June 4th.
Oh. I would not doubt that. But yes, like Sherry was saying, our speaker series starts on Sunday, and the Bingo Grannies will be introducing all of our guest speakers here on the same platform. And then every Tuesday and Thursday, we will have some knowledge holders, wisdom carriers, elders, and Neil. No, you're amazing. You're in that spot. And we did talk briefly about, maybe you guys doing this a few more times this year. And tonight we had some really beautiful messages that people shared. So please, the two of you go back and see them as well, and take a look and see it, how you really moved so many people this evening to just hang out and have tea with Totahs. We love you. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My people, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. How do I get out of here?
I'm gonna close. I'm gonna let you out. Bye. We'll see you.
Have a good night. Be safe.